Surprise, surprise. I don't know where William is. I don't know where he is. We're trying to get him. He either overslept, had an emergency, or I forgot which day it was going to be. But we will still be talking. I did tease this over on Bible Every Morning. So I have videos, some video clips to show some of these issues. But before that, let me just say, when talking about aliens, I have some deeply held beliefs about aliens. So, so Tucker Carlson came back. He's on Twitter now, and he's released 2 episodes. And Tucker, when he was still on Fox, UFOs, aliens were. I remember this was a couple of years ago when he started, talking about this. And I've always considered Tucker very serious-minded and does his research and maybe William will join us, but I'm just going to keep going without him. Sorry to disappoint. He is definitely a draw. We love William. But so Tucker has brought this issue back. I mean, it was really when he started talking about it, it came back to the forefront of my mind. And it's like, okay, one of the guys I really, one of the theologians who recently passed, I literally just watched a video, like an hour-long documentary that he did on demons and UFOs, a guy named Michael Heiser. And Michael Heiser has a book called The Unseen Realm. Unseen Realm dealing with everywhere in the Bible where it refers to this other culture, right? This other type of being that God created, right? God created humans, but he created the unseen realm as well. And the scripture pretty much indicates the unseen realm is more real than this realm, right? Everything that's going to shake will shake. And that's the physical realm is less permanent than the spiritual realm. And so there's this whole economy or culture of non-physical beings, right? And we just say angels and demons, but Michael Heiser's book will kind of break that open for you. There's a hierarchy there. It's not, we don't have all the details about it. We just know that it's not quite as simple as just angels and demons. And because, for example, the word angel just means messenger, right? We tend to think of an angel as a specific kind of thing. Well, technically, the word angel is used of the disciples at times, right? Messengers. They bring a good message. They are angels, right? So when in referencing non-physical entities as angels, well, that doesn't give enough information. The different appearances at different times for different reasons, right? Like there in Daniel, there was the principality of Persia that delayed the angel. I think it was Michael that was coming to Daniel. It's like, okay, there's a hierarchy, there's different roles, and there's different positions. So in that regard, and another guy I've talked to who's a friend of the channel, Hugh Ross, he thinks that, Hugh Ross himself specifically thinks that about 1% of alien abduction encounters that people report, a small percentage that can't be explained away by other means are actually demonic activity. And it makes sense. And Michael Heiser supports that notion. It's not that there are actual physical beings from another planet coming and visiting, but that it's actually entities that exist around us at all times that are communicating or crossing the threshold in a disapproved manner, I guess, or crossing the threshold to interact with humans. And a lot of the humans that they interact with are not Bible believers. And so what is it? Oh, this is entity telling me things. And Michael Heiser's documentary goes into detail about the messaging. It's like, oh, okay, clearly most alien encounters, for the most part, the messaging of alien encounters is contra Christian, right? Contra biblical and contra God, right? The things that we know from scripture, the vast majority of messaging from aliens or alien abductions, they're anti-Christian, anti-Christ. And that's one of the evidences for, oh, these are demonic forces. People that will reject demons will accept aliens. It's like, okay, that's, how Satan appears as an angel of light or whatever. All right. So I've vamped a bit. William has not showed up, but I'm going to watch this first video that's going to talk about a recent encounter. And let me get back to Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson speaks of these alien. He even said in his first episode on Twitter, he says, you know, this whistleblower, this people coming forth, you know, saying they've discovered crafts that were built by non-human hands or non-human means. And so Tucker Carlson's giving it legitimacy that, you know, the actual alien encounters. I'm not there. I'm not as far, you know, I love Tucker. I love a lot of what he does. And so on this, I'm not sure, but so let's roll this first clip. I've never seen this.
It's almost midnight on May 1st when a Las Vegas Metro police officer's body cam catches this, something flashing low in the sky.
911 emergency.
Minutes later,
there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one's inside, and it has big eyes and looking at us, and it's still there.
Someone calls 911 reporting 2 large figures in their backyard.
No, I'm so nervous right now.
The 8 News Now investigators obtaining another officer's video as he's sent to the Northwest Valley home.
I have butterflies, bro. Everyone saw a shooting star, then these people say there's aliens in their backyard.
By now, it's more than an hour after that bright light. Officers meeting up with the caller and his family.
What'd you see?
It was like a big creature.
A big creature?
Yeah, like 1 feet tall.
I'm not going to BS you guys. One of my partners said they saw something fall out of the sky too, so that's why I'm kind of curious. Did you see anything land in your backyard? Or
they see like a big, that's what they say. They see like a big something with light.
What I saw right now, I do believe in it.
Police walk into the backyard to investigate, but Metro blacked out that part of the video because it's considered private property. What's clear? They're taking this call seriously.
Hey, this might sound like a really dumb question, but did you guys see anything fall out of the sky?
Asking others what they saw.
I would normally discount it as nothing. However, seeing as one of my partners said they saw it too, only reason I'm actually investigating it further.
That investigation turning up no concrete answers as of Wednesday. Whatever or whoever fell into that yard, long gone within minutes.
Oh, hey, if those 9-foot beings come back, don't call us, all right? Deal with it yourself. I ain't dealing with that.
Okay, I hope that was clear for you guys because it was really rotoing for me. It was unclear to me, a lot of it. What do we think of this? Now, one theory. So Tucker, when he talked about I think the next video may address it, but when he talked about I guess a whistleblower, I don't know if this is an FBI whistleblower. Again, I have a busy life. I can't keep track of everything, but it was William that recommended this subject, and I was wanting to hear his take. But Tucker mentioned that why isn't this front page news, right? Why aren't we hearing about this? Why isn't the mainstream media reporting on this? And he said he was talking about everybody's focused on the Donald Trump indictment, and the Donald Trump indictment coming at this time. You know, the indictment in, I think, the Miami jurisdiction, even though it's the judge overseeing this is not in Florida, but and so these are seen as distractions, or, you know, one of the theories is these are distractions from the bad news coming out about Joe Biden, right? The FBI document that purportedly, and, you know, it sounds like it's legitimate, the document that demonstrates or is like exhibit 1 in the our current president taking money that he shouldn't have been taking from a rich person in a foreign country that's now at war with Russia. I mean, it's like, the things that we've been paying attention to that have been called conspiracy theories, right? That, you know, we are labeled as conspiracy theorists, and I'm not talking about the alien stuff. I'm talking about the corruption in our government, the corruption of our most, the highest political office in the land being corrupted by foreign powers is seen as a conspiracy, right? And we've been kind of paying attention to the reporting. Obviously, I'm dancing around certain terms because Sweet Home Maricopa got a strike. I'm like, okay, I don't even know what I'm allowed to say, but we see these things that are referred to as conspiracy theories actually years later, the evidence coming out, right? Prior to 2020, there was this laptop, this bombshell story, that was suppressed. And now CBS News is reporting on it. I'm like, yep, it's been verified after 50 plus former FBI officials signed a letter saying, oh, it's Russian propaganda. Every one of those people should be absolutely, their credibility is gone and they should be outed, but that's not happening. But things like that, right? This document that we always felt like, why would Joe Biden say, you're not getting $1 billion from the United States unless you fire that attorney that's prosecuting that company that my son happens to work for. All right. It's like, okay, we've been hearing that for a long time. And now with the Republicans in the House in control, those investigations are showing us we're not crazy, right? We're not a bunch of, conspiracy theorists. Well, that's the big bombshell. Right? It's a huge bombshell. So the idea, and I'm not sold on this, that it's just distraction. I'm not sold on that idea that, they're only now indicting Trump on this because that news is coming out. I think they hate Trump, period. And this was going to happen anyway. Right. And those kinds of things happen. It's like, how could they line up? They must be, how could those things line up so perfectly? It must be a conspiracy. And we tend to think that way. But let me give you an example in my personal experience, right? To refute that this is just a distraction. Again, I don't know. And I don't know if we'll ever know if the motive for indicting Trump now and the alien stuff coming out now is to distract from the uncovering of corruption of our president. To an example against that being an orchestrated timing. When I started my channel, Sweet Home Maricopa, I started it literally the same day that Doug TenNapel, Behizzy, Quentin from Out of the Darkness, Liz Harris, and some 3 or 4 other channels were deleted. All in one day. It was like 7 or 8 channels that were all talking about the Arizona investigation. All of those channels were focused on the Arizona investigation of the 2020 Maricopa County election process. And the day before, and so I started my channel that day when theirs were deleted, the day after Media Matters did an expose on 15 YouTubers that were focused on that conspiracy theory stuff. And so I started my channel that same day. And so that's when my channel blew up. And there were people saying, oh, you must be a plant because you couldn't have timed that like that. The timing of it was just, and I agree. The timing of that was crazy. My channel blew up because I was talking about the same subject matter and I was talking about those channels. I was talking about Doug TenNapel. I was talking about Behizzy. I was talking about Quentin. I was talking about Liz in my subject lines and in with some of my thumbnails. I even put Quentin's face on some thumbnails and stuff and Doug's face on thumbnails. And so when those channels were deleted, people wondering where they went were typing in those names and my channel was coming up. And so that's why my numbers blew up. And so the timing of those things from the outside, from a person not knowing me and personally, from the outside, you can put 2 and 2 together. The 2 and 2 that don't really exist, but you can put 2 and 2 together. It's like, oh, you're just a plant. You are an insider. YouTube hired you to undermine, or I don't know. It just, the timing was uncanny. Well, God does that kind of thing. God does it, right? That he did it in my case, right? It was, to me, it was evidence that it was the right time to start my channel. I'm like, oh, when am I supposed to? I wanted to start it months ahead of time. And for me, it was like late. I'm like, I'm finally going to get this channel up. Finally. I felt like, I should have gotten this up months ago. And the day I did it, it was like God's timing. So I'm not sold on the idea that these are just distractions. And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, I don't know if we can know. I don't know if we'll ever know. All right, let's go to the next video.
Retrieval, what do you mean? These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will. It's probably not the right parlance, but no kidding, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
We have spacecraft from another species. How many? Quite a number. Well, there you have it. The evidence is in. The evidence is in. There are non-physical spacecraft from another species. Non-human. Physical spacecraft from, okay, this is a guy saying it and saying it convincingly, right? He's convinced. That's not enough for me. I'm sorry. That's not enough for me. Hey, I believe that a man raised from the dead and is alive right now, right? It's not about having difficulty believing very difficult things. I believe some very difficult things to reconcile. I believe that that the entire planet is going to be saved, right? I believe that the nation of Turkey is going to convert to Christianity, right? These are things I actually believe. I believe that, as Jesus said, make disciples of all nations. I believe that is an inevitability. It's coming, right? I believe a man raised from the dead physically and is alive forever. I believe that there is a human that is God, right? So I believe some really difficult things to believe. I believe them wholeheartedly, full-fledged. But I'm not convinced by this guy saying we have ships made from non-human hands. How can you determine that, right? How can you determine that? It would have to be, we've looked at the technology and I've never seen anything like this, right? And that's about all they can say. I've never seen anything like this, right? And we have our own biases. We have in-group biases. We have these bubbles that we're in, and I don't know who this guy is, so I can't verify. Here's a good question. I'm gonna put this up. Kelly Dillon. I do believe he is a CIA plant, but I don't put past having. Okay, so that's honest, right? I think that's very honest of Kelly to say that. So maybe, right? Maybe he has a narrative, and again, background check, vet this guy. I don't even know who this interviewer is, and that's me not having done my homework, right? That's me not having. This is the first I've seen any of this. I've just heard hints of it, and this is probably the guy that Tucker is referencing. I would imagine this is the guy that Tucker was referencing in his first episode back. Now, aliens. Here's my problem with aliens, right? My problem with the idea, because I work in the entertainment industry, and one of the common themes in cinema, you got Star Wars. Star Wars changed my life. What is that? Alien life, other planets where there's life. Star Trek, and you hear this all the time, and this drives me nuts when I hear it. This universe is so vast. How could we possibly think that we're the only ones? Right? That is really, really bad argument. It's an argument from utter ignorance of science, right? Of the impossibility of life. If you don't believe that life evolved, right? That complex life evolved, which as Christians, it's not just that we don't believe it. There are Christian apologists and scientists that point out how it's so improbable that it's impossible, right? That these things could have randomly happened. We believe that God created the universe and created life, right? And after their own kind, right? Spontaneously, this kind of organism came into existence. The Cambrian explosion will show you that all of these different body types of organisms came into existence suddenly in the fossil record in a moment of geologic time. There's just mathematically no possible way these things could have suddenly or could have gradually come into such complexity and diversity, right? That's the issue, right? Even on an evolutionary timescale, a blue whale and a bat are the same. They're both mammals, a blue whale and a bat. And they're even on the evolutionary timescale, 10 million years separates the evolution of a blue whale and a bat from a common ancestor. Those body types, mathematically, it's impossible for you to get that diversity of body types, even in an evolutionary timescale, mathematically. Okay, so that's my problem. Human life appeared by God's doing. So if there's alien life out there, it would have been God's doing, right? God's like, okay, I'm going to create these other things out there somewhere, right? If there is alien life on another planet somewhere, it would have to have been suddenly created by God. Okay, then, did Jesus die for them as well? Right? Or is there some other Jesus out there? And like, no, we believe that Jesus is God in the flesh. There's only one God in the flesh form, and that's Jesus. And so that's just my high level. That's where I start at in my understanding of alien life. It's like, okay, but I used to, Dr. James Tour has some real good stuff about this as well. Yeah, look up Dr. James Tour. This guy is changing the world he's brilliant he's a molecular chemist, synthetic chemist, incredible guy, and a Christian who believes in the resurrection of Jesus. So here's another thing, and we'll get to another video, another clip here in a second, but in my theological understanding of Genesis chapter 4 or Genesis 6, 1-4, about the demons mating with humans to create the Nephilim. So theologically, I used to have a problem with that. I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's what it means. There's these different interpretations, like what are the Nephilim, what are the giants? And there's like 3 general interpretations. And I was like, in my logic, I was like, well, how could a demon mate with a human? That's a non-physical entity, and the human is a physical entity. And I used to think that was the problem with it. And how could they have interbreeded? Like God created everything after its own kind. Like dogs can't mate with horses, right? It's like there are different types of things that can't mate. And my issue was they're not physical, so how could they create something physical? Then I realized actually non-physical entities can take on physical form, right? I mean, aside from God becoming flesh, we have Abraham preparing a meal for these angels and sitting down and eating, right? They take on human form. So I used to think, being non-physical is less permanent than being physical. Then I realized just because angels don't have bodies and they're jealous of us, as a human, you are both physical and non-physical, and angels are primarily non-physical, but that doesn't mean they can't temporarily take on physicality. And then I understood, okay, that's the way God created. The non-physical is actually more permanent than the physical. So the non-physical can come in and temporarily take on physical form. And so I think that I do believe now that Genesis 6, 1-4 is demonic entities mating with humans and creating this half breed. And that's why they had to be killed. And that's why David had to massacre them and Joshua had to massacre them. God does not like things that are mixed together. There's all these, do not mix old wine and new wine skins, or new wine and old wine skins, and do not sew these different types of material together. There's a prohibition on mixing types of things. And that's why these demonic forms were here to undermine God's plan, and they had to be eradicated. That's why David had to kill him. Joshua had to kill him. All right. So that's how my understanding has changed. So I'm not opposed to some physical craft or some physical entities appearing. They're just not life from another planet, right? If they are, that's just my take on this. That's how I'm interpreting these things. And I'm obviously, I'm not a scientist, right? So this guy saying we have crafts that are made by non-human hands, I'm like, that's quite a claim. I don't buy it. I need a lot more. Right? Just because maybe it has technology that you've never seen. I don't think there are elements that are not on the periodic table of elements, right? So I don't think there's a material out there that has never been discovered. I think we've pretty much figured out the periodic table of elements. We've created elements, like with nuclear fission. We're creating elements that only exist for a fraction of a second. So we've created a few new ones. But as far as a different type of material and a technology I'm sorry, I remain a reserved judgment on this. All right, let's watch the next clip.
So if it goes to D.C., right now we're in June 2023. You got a Republican primary just starting to heat up. What is the timetable for a trial in the middle of a Republican primary, possibly a general election?
Well, that's the issue. This is clearly election interference by Joe Biden. This is clearly election interference. Isn't it funny that the day that Joe Biden gets caught taking $10 million from Burisma, Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland greenlights this indictment of his leading presidential rival. I mean, the timing is just, it's just coincidental, right? Well, so here's what happens. Trump could try to move to dismiss the indictment, the sufficiency of the indictment early on, because there's not a legal basis for the indictment. The Presidential Records Act, not the Espionage Act, applies. I doubt a uniparty judge is going to go along with that. And so this will probably have to get resolved by the Supreme Court. It should be 9-0 by the Supreme Court if they actually follow the law. But at the end of the day, Trump may get elected in 2024 as a convicted felon who the Supreme Court has to reverse his conviction because it's a bogus.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That will be something. Mike Davis, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, Kelly Dillon. I haven't seen your name before, so it's nice to see you, nice to meet you. But you're making me laugh, and you're basically reading my mind. This is exactly what I was thinking. LOL. This is the first time I've seen Fox since Tucker. Literally, same for me. I was going to say before you made the comment, I was going to say, we're showing Fox on my channel here. It's like I like Jesse, right? But I don't watch anymore. I don't watch Gutfeld anymore. I don't watch Jesse anymore because I'm like, okay, I'm done. But I can't. I'm not watching Fox anymore. But I don't mind having the clips on here because there's plenty of clips we put on here of stuff that I would never watch or never seen. So, but what that I am 100% on board with what they were just talking about. This is not conspiratorial. This is not conspiracy theory. This is absolutely election interference. This is absolutely, they see the writing on the wall that didn't need William. Good show. I like William. William's a blast, but I am glad I've been able to articulate some of this stuff because it's stuff that I wouldn't have been able to because I just like listening to William. All right, so. This is absolutely election interference. This is third world banana republic. Let's target our political opponents, right? Never in the history of our nation has the leading candidate in the opposition party been indicted. And now it's twice, right? Never. And not only that, the most investigated man in history of humankind, the most investigated man in the history of humankind. I've said this before. You've probably heard me say this if you've heard me before. Donald Trump has been under investigation by the entire apparatus of the U.S. government, the most high tech and like the biggest apparatus. We have more government officials than most countries have population. Right. So been investigating Donald Trump for 7 years now. And all they can come up with is stuff that he did when he left office. Right. They have nothing on him. And as corrupt as he is, and, he denies having sex with what's her name, porn star. I'm like, okay, I don't know that I believe his denial. But even that, he's been thanks to what's his name, Bill Clinton. It's like, that's no longer a problem. Trump was not a political official and it wasn't in the Oval Office, right? Trump was a private citizen when that kind of stuff happened, right? And we had a president do it, confess to it, like irrefutably in office, in the Oval Office. Like, okay, that stuff's not going to stick. There's nothing that's sticking except now they're coming up with stuff after he left office, right? It's like they're tenacious, unrelenting, trying to take out their biggest opposition, and it only makes them stronger. I mean, that's my take. They're going to cuff him and put him behind bars, and he'll raise a whole bunch more money, and people will what they're doing is they're red pilling their own side by doing this. They're just red pilling more and more and more people on their own side by targeting this guy. It's a sickness. It's a mass hysteria that has infected the elites. Thank God. Right? The elites are infected with a mass hysteria. It's literally a psychological illness. DTS it should be in medical journals. Like, I believe in the future it will be. Like, this is the biggest mass hysteria event in history, that an entire political party duped, so many people, and people are getting healed. This is healing people from that sickness. All right. Love you guys. See you next week.